Hi everyone, my name is Dave, and welcome to Extra Credit, a video series where we take an unscripted look at topics related to local history and exploring that history. All right, as we normally do at the start of the episode, just a quick reminder to visit my website. You'll find a link in the description, and there you'll find all kinds of information related to the topics we take a look at in this video series and then some, including a section for extra credit. So in that section, you're going to find links to all of the episodes that we've done. And so if you're new and you haven't seen any episodes of Extra Credit, you can go back and take a look at them. Or if you've been here before and if you've seen the video series before, you can go back and take a look at a previous episode or maybe an episode that you've missed. And so additionally, please remember to have a look at me and follow me on social media. So you'll find me on Facebook, you'll find me on Twitter, and you'll find me on Instagram. And finally, if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. There's always a lag, there's a delay from when content gets posted on the channel and then when it makes it onto social media. Sometimes there's quite a bit of a lag. It could be days, it could be weeks, could be months. Sometimes there's even years where I don't post things immediately for one reason or the other. And so if you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, you're going to get access to that content as quickly as it comes out. So, Luna's here for a little visit here. You can see her snout in the top of the frame here. So we're back to talking a little bit about the PD Railway, the Port Arthur, Duluth, and Western. Now, if you've noticed, I really haven't done a lot of work on the PD in recent years, particularly if you follow me on social media and things like that. And the reason being is it's sort of a complicated answer. I've been doing the PD for a long time. I'm actually coming up on the 30th anniversary. And so our next episode, make sure you check it out, is all going to be about the 30 years that I've spent basically researching some of the history, particularly some of the rail history in this area. So obviously I've been at it for a long time, and what's happened is I've sort of gone on to sort of other topics. I'm still doing stuff with the PD, but I'm not doing as much as much of the field work and things like that. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's becoming, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, it's becoming increasingly difficult to do some of the field work, to visit some of the sites. Unfortunately, the history is starting to disappear. And as I mentioned, I've kind of gotten involved in other projects. So I've been doing some work, and I'm actually trying to finish a book on the Pigeon River Lumber Company and part of its logging operation at Gunflint Lake, the Gunflint Lake Superior Railroad. I'm going to be doing an episode on that coming up in the next few months, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I've also gotten involved in researching the history of the former Canadian Northern Railway line east of Thunder Bay, what eventually became the Kinghorn subdivision. And again, you can see that in some of the other episodes. So again, we haven't spent a lot of time on the PD. So what we've done in previous episodes is the first episode in this sort of sub-series, we basically talked about the PD, we talked a little bit about its history, we talked a little bit about sort of how I got involved and how I began researching the line. And then our second episode, we actually visited one of the last pieces that was left of the PD that actually had some rails, which was by Rosslyn, which is just to the west of Thunder Bay. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure those rails are gone now. They've unfortunately been removed, right? So there's, again, our last sort of physical trace of the railway line is gone. So this episode was basically going to be a continuation of that. So in that second episode, we basically took a look at the railway line from Twin City Junction as it kind of passed through Rosslyn to the sort of the west side of Rosslyn, to the west side of where there used to be the Superior Brick Plant. And so this is going to basically kind of continue on from there. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to kind of be doing a little bit of a different exploration. I kind of thought about sort of biking it like I do with some of my other sort of explorations, particularly on the Kinghorn. But I thought, well, you know what? It's kind of long. It's going to be a little bit challenging for me to figure out what to do with the dog. So we decided, because Luna's in part of making the decision process, I decided to basically drive it. And so what we're going to do is basically we're going to start off just west of Rosslyn. We're going to start where basically there's kind of a three-way intersection where Rosslyn Road becomes Harstone Road right at Fraser Road. And the reason why I selected that is basically the railway grade up to that part is just off to the side of Rosslyn Road, and when it becomes Harstone Drive, you're actually right on top of the railway grade. And so we're going to basically follow the railway grade right from that point, right from Fraser Road on Harstone Drive, all the way up to Stanley. And Stanley was kind of the first sort of major point of the railway outside of at the time Port Arthur and Fort William. And so you'll basically, so how we did it is I had the GoPro mounted on the front of the truck. I had one inside the truck, right? And so it was kind of interesting because obviously I can't see what's going on that front GoPro, and you'll actually see in the video that I had to I did one section, I had to start over again because the front camera, the battery died, and so we really didn't get a lot of recording. So we kind of, you see us sort of driving along. Geez, the dog's always got to find something to play with. And you're going to see some of the misadventures. So I have two GPSs. I have a newer one and an older one. I decided to use the older one, and it wasn't cooperating. It was kind of glitching out on me. And then one of the spots that we checked out is there's a spot where there was a big sort of ballast pit, and there was a spur that kind of run off there. And so we went to go take a look at it. I was having problems with the GPS. I wasn't really dressed to kind of be stomping around through the bush. I was just wearing kind of runners, or for our American viewers, sneakers. I ended up, running into some issues, and I'm not going to say much. You can watch the episode and see what happens. So we made our way all the way to Stanley, and then we kind of walked a little bit on the road. I kind of showed you a little bit where I'll show you a little bit about the water tank is, and some of the things that were going on in Stanley. So, I don't want to talk too much. You can watch the episode, sort of see what happens, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about it once it's over.
All right, here we go with our little adventure. So we're at the intersection of Rosslyn Road, which goes that way, and this becomes Harstone Road over here, and that's Fraser Road. And so this is where we kind of left off on our last episode, right here, right? So the railway line would have come through right in this direction here, and then basically it becomes the road right here. So it would have basically cut across right here where the truck is. And then gone straight ahead this way. Okay, so we're going to have a camera going inside the truck so we can record some audio. And then we're going to try this because we've never done this before. We're actually going to drive, and then we're going to have one mounted on the hood so you can basically see as we drive forward. All right, here we go. Take two. The first attempt at this, the battery on the hood camera died. All right, so now we are on top of the railway grade. I'm just kind of making me bonkers a little bit here. So you can see sort of the nature of the railway in this area. Basically passing through some farm country here, just to the west of Thunder Bay, just to the west of the little community of Rosslyn. So where we're heading right now is we are going to where there was a former ballast pit. We're going to see if we can find where that kind of branches off. Just going to slow down and let this guy behind me go. see it's a fairly nice Sunday morning here. Luna's all in a bit of a tizzy. So we have to have the camera on me, otherwise we're going to have no audio for the front camera. Now I'm not sure what's going on with my GPS. I keep losing the map every time I slow down. Okay, so it's supposed to be just up here. That's where this pit is. I want to say somewhere over here. Yeah, it's right here. I'm going to pause for a second here. All right, so where this pit starts, man, what is going on with the GPS here, is right somewhere over here. And so again, this was a pretty significant ballast pit for the railway, and it was in operation for a long time. And you see it all on old timetables being listed as ballast pit. Can't see where I'm going here. It's all swampy in here. Oh, I kind of got away from the road here. Shoes are going to be all wet. This is the spur here. Now we got it. Great. There's water. There's the spur. Because it basically, oh, that's not quite it. Oh, Jesus. Just lost my shoe. All right. Awesome. All right. So this is the spur right here. Way off. Yeah, I think I'm on top of it now. So it took me getting a nice shoe full of mud to figure this out. Are my shoes all full of mud? I'm all wet and dirty. Yeah, this is the spur right here. So it basically ran off in that direction there. Yep, there's my shoe. I'm all wet and gross. Okay. All right, so let's hope that the rest of the hike is a little bit less eventful. I'm all dirty. Like I said, my shoe is covered in mud. We don't really have any more stops like that. Like I said, if my GPS was cooperating a little bit more, I don't think I would have ended up in the predicament that I was. So, all right, let's get rolling here. Soon enough, we're going to move alongside the river, which is the Kaministiquia River, which is the largest river in that area here around Thunder Bay. So the Kaministiquia is formed by the merging of two other rivers. So the river is just beside us here, it's just to the south, just to my left. So it's formed by the confluence of the Dog River, which comes out of Dog Lake, and the Matawan or Shibandawan River, which comes out of Shibandawan Lake. Here you can just see this view here. It must have been something when the railway was first constructed here, cruising alongside the river. So the Kaministiquia is an indigenous word, and basically it means river with three mouths, because when it gets to close to Lake Superior, it splits into three rivers: the Kaministiquia, the McKellar, and the Mission River. So it forms a bit of a delta. So what used to happen when the railway line was running, even right from the very beginning, even right before they even completed the line, they used to run excursions up here to Stanley, and there was a park here that they used to have alongside the river, and they also used to run excursions up to Kekabeka Falls, which is one of the largest waterfalls in this area. People call it the Niagara of the North. So here we're approaching a creek, so you can imagine there would have been a little bridge or a little trestle over there. This is Corbett Creek. I would imagine any traces of the railway line are gone. Sorry, the bridge or the trestle are gone. So we are heading towards Stanley, which was the first sort of major point outside of the city of Thunder Bay now, but at the time was two cities: the more northern one, Port Arthur, and the more southern one, which was Fort William. So Stanley is situated at milepost 19. So here we're coming alongside the river again. It is the beginning of fall. So fall just started yesterday, I believe. So today is the 23rd, 24th. Lose track of my days here. Today is the 24th of September. So this is a little bit different. We've never driven. Normally we do this on the bike, but just thought it would be a little bit easier logistically. It is a bit of a longer sort of route, and I would have had to like park and then go back and then come back, and I just figured it might be a little bit different to do the drive. Sort of record it that way. Hopefully the front camera is recording. So you can see the leaves have started to change. We don't have a great deal of variance in the color of the vegetation. You can see that there are a few reds and some oranges in there, but mostly a lot of the vegetation around here is poplar and birch, so you just get a lot of yellows, maybe a little tinge of orange. All right, so we're coming up to our destination here, which is Stanley. Like I said, hopefully the front camera is still recording. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull over, and then I can kind of give you a little bit of an explanation as to what is sort of happening here. All right, so we're just going to do a little walkabout in here in Stanley. So we've previously done videos here. So again, Stanley was located at milepost 19. On the Port Arthur, Duluth, and Western. It actually predates, so this location predates the railway line. So what had happened was in the early 1800s, sorry, a little distracted there. So in the early 1800s, silver had been discovered just southwest of what is now Thunder Bay, so just in that direction over there. And in order to access those mines, what they had done was they had built a wagon road from Murillo Station. So Murillo is just to the north of us over here. So Murillo Station on the Canadian Pacific, they had built a wagon road coming through here and basically crossing the river here at Stanley. And so this hotel that's here, Stanley Hotel, actually has been here for quite a long period of time, because it was basically kind of an intermediary point in that wagon road, essentially going from Murillo all the way down to the silver mines. There were initially one and then multiple silver mines. And again, the silver mines are one of the main reasons why the railway line was built. And so the railway first reached here in the winter of 1889, 1890. And the name that was given to this location, Stanley, it was actually named after the Governor General at the time, so Lord Stanley of Preston. And he's the same guy that the Stanley Cup, he was the guy that donated the first or original Stanley Cup. And so the cup itself is named after him. And so this is why this location bears his name. So again, this became the first sort of major point outside of the city. And as we've discussed, if you sort of normally watch the videos that I do, back in those days, the locomotives that were in use were fairly small, and their tender capacity, particularly their water capacity, was fairly limited. So we just passed here. This is Highway 588, and so this is the main highway that runs southwest of Thunder Bay. So their water capacity, their water tender capacity was pretty limited. And so what they had to do is they had to build water tanks approximately every 20 miles or so. So Stanley was the location of a water tank. So the station was just across the street over here. And then right here, there's this creek that comes down. And basically this is where you would find the water tank. And again, we've done some videos in here, and I'll put some links in there. You can hear the water running. So again, Stanley's a major point. I talked about on the drive that basically there were excursions that were being run. So trains would come here, and then people would go to the park that was just up here. There would be stagecoach service to Kakabeka Falls, so people wanted to go and visit the falls. And then obviously there was access to the mines from here as well. So it was a pretty important point. Now, things really began to change for Stanley in the late 1890s because in 1898, the railway line was purchased by Canadian Northern Railway. The purchase wasn't finalized until 1899. There was all kinds of legal drama and stuff that took place. But construction began on the Canadian Northern's first real big project, which was a line between Port Arthur and Winnipeg. And so Stanley was going to be the junction point. So basically right here, the Canadian Northern was going to use the Port Arthur, Duluth and Western route up to here, and then the two lines were going to split, with the Port Arthur, Duluth and Western continuing on its original route that way towards the next station is Harstone and beyond, and then the Canadian Northern route, nice Luna, basically branching off and running uphill towards Kakabeka. And so from 1902, when the Canadian Northern Main Line, which became their Ontario section, was known as many years, and then the Port Arthur, Duluth and Western became the Duluth extension, never reaching Duluth, unfortunately, as we know. Basically, this was the junction point. So from 1902 till 1911, this was a pretty hopping place. There was a lot of stuff that was going on. You basically had Port Arthur, Duluth and Western trains coming this way. You had the mainline trains going west from here and then coming downhill from Kakabeka. Now, the only unfortunate part was there was an issue with this line. So there was an issue with the line that was running north from here towards Kakabeka. The grades weren't particularly awesome. It was pretty steep, and we've done some videos on that section of track. And so what happened was in 1909, Canadian Northern began work on a cutoff, right? So basically starting back at Twin City where we left off, and then basically splitting off and running up to Kakabeka. And the purpose of that track was to mitigate the grades coming down here. And there were documented cases of accidents and things like that where people were killed because these locomotives basically piling down the grade coming downhill from Kakabeka created a lot of issues. And so once that cutoff was completed in 1911, it basically relegated all the track from here in Stanley all the way back to Twin City, relegated it back to just sort of branch line status. And so, you know, Stanley kind of lost its place on the main line. All right. So in any case, again, basically this is the grade of the PD right here. And then again, you have the Canadian Northern line running up that way. Maybe I'll throw up a map on the screen here so you can sort of see it. Okay, so this sort of wraps things up from here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back for another episode, and we're going to work our way here from Stanley all the way just a little ways up ahead to where there's the bridge that crosses over the Kaministiquia River. And the bridge is still there. It's not the original bridge, but the 1920s rebuild is still there, and so we're going to have a look at that.
Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that little adventure. Like I said, a little bit different. I hadn't done anything like that driving. I wasn't sure how everything would turn out. The dog just wants to like play here. You know, especially with that camera mounted on the front of the truck. I didn't know how that was all going to go, and it didn't turn out too bad. Now, just a reminder that what you're seeing is kind of the edited version or the trimmed down version. There is a full version. There's a link in the description, so make sure you check out that. If you want to see more, you can check out the full version, and you can basically see the whole journey right from, you know, where you know, Harstone Drive starts all the way till the end. You're going to see a little bit more about my misadventure looking for the spur, and so I am planning to do more episodes of the PD. I'm hoping at some point this year, probably I'm thinking in September maybe. I know it seems like it's a long ways away, but it'll come by fast. So I'm hoping to kind of not September. I'm planning on doing something this spring. I want to cover the section from Stanley to the crossing of the Kaministiquia River, so the Harstone Bridge, or, you know, the Kaministiquia River Bridge, or whatever you want to call that, and then including showing a little bit of high track, which was the old Canadian Northern Main Line that used to go off to Kekabeka and then eventually off to Winnipeg. And then hopefully in September, we're going to do a little bit on the bridge itself. And so you'll be able to sort of see that, and hoping to get the drone out and throw some drone footage in there as well. Maybe we'll get a nice morning or something like that, a little bit of fog on the river, and you know, we'll see if we can get some kind of neat little footage of that. So anyway, that's what's coming up with regard to that. As usual, we've got a whole slate of episodes that are coming up. I've already kind of talked a little bit about them. So next month's episode is going to be a little bit about the anniversary of all of this research that I've been doing over the last 30 years. And then we're going to get into, we've got some episodes of the Kinghorn coming up. We've got sort of a little inspirational video that, you know, I'm not going to talk too much about. You'll have to see that one. We're going to have the one on the Pigeon River Lumber Company. And then there's going to be hikes this spring. So there's going to be more of some Kinghorn stuff that I'm going to have for next year. So again, if you go to the link in the description, and you go to my website and you go to that extra credit spot, not only we see the past episodes, but you'll also see the future episodes that I have planned. Again, if you have any ideas in terms of things that you would like me to cover in the video series, or if you have any questions or things like that, don't be afraid to put them in the comments below. But in any case, thanks for tuning in for this episode. Again, as I mentioned, we've got a lot more coming up in the future. So in the meantime, take care and stay safe.